still in utter disbelief as to the game that I witnessed. You know, I am a Michigan fan, but many Ohio State fans throughout the history of this channel and many fans from across the country have named me as so objective that they wouldn't even think that I was a Michigan fan. So as I'm watching this game early, things that I have talked about for weeks and people have called me insane for, as for Ohio State, and my goodness, Maryland just scored on Penn State, so maybe there's a path for Indiana to get to the Big Ten championship game right now. But wow, we have 56 concurrent viewers. Let's get this to 1,000 if we can. So what happens is all the things that people said I was being biased against OSU for came up in this game. I talked about how their run blocking O-line was an atrocity to watch. What did we see this game? Every single time Ohio State ran the football, they surrendered interior leverage. It was like reading a child's book to a kid, and you read it to him or her every night because they love it so much. And they know what's coming, but they still love it. That right there is what Chip Kelly and Ryan Day were doing to Wink Martindale, who, by the way, did not call a good game early on. If Ohio State simply abandons the run earlier in the game, I am fairly confident that they win. Ohio State looked like the better team in much of this football game. And that is what makes this loss sting more. And that is why my heart is still racing right now. Because this is insanity. This should not have happened, and yet it did. This is the beauty of college football. This is the beauty of any given Saturday, or any given Friday, or Thursday, or Sunday in the first week of the regular season when we have that one neutral site game. This was beyond insanity. Ohio State refusing to run the football until they absolutely have to pass cost them this game. The play calling, the game management, the preparation, and the arrogance, too. To think that you can run into the teeth of that defense with the situation you have up front is the definition of we think we are better than you because. It's what Michigan teams had a huge issue with under Lloyd Carr and also under Jim Harbaugh for much of their time. It's 4 in a row now. It's 4 in a row. And if I were a Michigan fan right now, I wouldn't care about, and I am, but I'm not speaking from a Michigan fan standpoint here, really. If I were a Michigan fan, a casual Michigan fan, I would not care about the sanctions. I would not care about the vacated wins. Because what this loss does, this loss for a Michigan fan who's a casual, of course, you don't want sanctions to hit hard because that could, it could set the program back. Let's not lie about that. But this sets Ohio State way back, too. And by the way, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please click the notification bell. You're not going to want to miss the stuff we produce here on College Football with Sam. I'm going to come out and say, I'm a Michigan fan, by the way. I picked Ohio State to win 45-6. Michigan was only 7 points off of my score prediction, and they won. Because Ohio State couldn't punch it in. Ohio State didn't score a single point in the second half. Talk about the best second half team in college football. No. Baloney. What Ohio State had in this game was the same thing that happened with Michigan against TCU in the Fiesta Bowl. They got blanked. They got punched in the mouth, and they just couldn't respond. Looked like the better team, but the worst team came in with more confidence, they came in with more swagger, and the inferior team had the necessary work ethic to hang around for 60 minutes. It's the same thing that Kentucky did to Ole Miss earlier this year. If you can run the football for 2, 3, 4, 5 yards per pop, not surrender many TFLs, and occasionally throw them off with like 1 or 2 good passes, you can beat these top teams right now. Because there is no 2023 Michigan. There is no 2021 or 2022 Georgia. Georgia nearly went to 9-3. There is no 2019 Ohio State. There isn't. And I know we're not talking about this game specifically, but I mean, my goodness, guys, this was insane. I said in my deep dive that the only way Michigan was going to win was if God hates Ohio State, or if God loves Michigan, or if there's some type of outside divine intervention. I will tell you what the divine intervention was. The divine intervention was Chip Kelly's play calling. That's what the divine intervention was. What are you doing running up the middle over and over and over and over and over again? This is now the 5th game of Ohio State's regular season where Judkins is averaging for less than 4 yards per pop. Henderson, your best running back, only averaged 2.1 yards per pop. And Howard, the Will Howard that I thought was going to play for Ohio State, he finally showed up. 1 touchdown, 2 picks, tons of throws out of bounds, looked lost, looked like he thought it was going to be easy, and it wasn't. It wasn't. Just a total lack of execution, a total lack of discipline, and honestly, as I said in my tweet, I'll pull up this tweet here. Not show it live, but read to you what I said. I still thought Ohio State was going to win, really up until that final minute of the game. I was in complete disbelief that the entire time. And Ohio State was lucky to be tied until that final minute of the game. They allowed Michigan to get inside the 10 twice and stopped them. That doesn't happen all the time. But with Michigan's offense being as bad as it is, and Ohio State's defense as good as it is, you get that. You get that right there. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And James Franklin's laughing too, because as long as James Franklin just beats Maryland by a point or by 50 points, they go to Indy. Or if he loses, Curt Cignetti goes to Indy. If Curt Cignetti loses to Purdue, which is highly unlikely, but possible given what just happened, then Ohio State, well, they get into Indy. But this team's not beating Oregon. A healthy Oregon would blow this current team out. Ohio State, I have been saying for weeks now, has gotten worse, basically outside of that Indiana game every week since the Simmons injury. And in this game, all of Ohio State's weaknesses, all of them came out at once. And I don't think Ohio State just knew how to deal with it. I mean, there were multiple points where they could have won, and they didn't. And by the way, 4th and 7, when Michigan can't stop the pass, what are you doing? Don't punt that early in the third quarter. Go for it. Michigan's not going to drive down on you. They had, 3 or 4 drives that got into OSU territory. One of them was because of a pick, and they only got 10 points out of it. If you count the 3 drives that were real drives, Michigan only got 3 points out of that. It's objectively insane. It's crazy. This shouldn't have happened. It did. I'm going to give Michigan credit here. I'm giving them all the credit in the world. They didn't quit. They stayed in the game. And, I mean, let me get to the super chat that someone just sent. Aleem Habib, thank you for the $5 super chat. This game immediately nullifies my Wolverines' atrocious season for me. Also, did this game earn Wink and Sharon's job for next year? Sharon, absolutely. Wink, I don't know. Because I don't know. Because this defense, see, this is what people sometimes don't get. This defense is so talented that if you don't call a great game against them, your offense will fold because of what they have up front. I mean, OSU, outside of one play where Judkins got 15 yards, never had leverage on the line of scrimmage. Never. By the way, this game, Justin Fry's done. Justin Fry's gone. And Larry Johnson should be gone too, because the D-line was unable to pressure Davis Warren. They were unable to get by an offensive line that has been an atrocity in pass blocking. Just complete failure, complete implosion by OSU. This does not nullify the Wolverines' atrocious season for me, though. I'm still mad this team went 7-5. Still very frustrated. Because you had a ton of talent coming back. You clearly have enough talent on the roster to where if you made some pieces on offense and made better hires, this could have been a really good team. I mean, think about it. Michigan's season is a failure still. It's just a D grade, no longer an F grade. 7-5 is acceptable for any blue blood program. I mean, 10-2. This 10-2 season for OSU, unacceptable. I mean, for Ohio State right now, I have been a Ryan Day defender. I have been saying for really ever since he lost to Michigan the first time around, this guy's going to be at Ohio State forever and win national titles. I don't know about that anymore. This is his first loss to an unranked team. This, I think, after today, this is his worst team at Ohio State. We went from talking about this team as being like, I said this is Day's best. I said this yesterday. This is how quickly things turn. I said yesterday, this is Day's best coaching job. Make it his worst for losing to this team of players that I love, but of coaches like Kirk Campbell or Wink Martindale or Ron Bellamy or, gosh, like, it has not been a good year for Michigan. This at least ends Michigan's season on a high note, but they have a lot to work on. I can just only think of this, and this is what should make Ohio State fans beyond furious. All I can think of is if Michigan returned Jim Harbaugh and returned his staff, and let's say was never suspended, just for the sake of argument, and maybe the only thing roster-wise they changed is they got Kyle McCord in the transfer portal. Michigan wins this game by double digits. It's not even close. That's what should make Ohio State mad. How you can go from that game against Indiana and the game against Penn State to this Michigan game and fold like a lawn chair is it's unbelievable. It's completely unbelievable. And this is what happens when you have one-dimensionality. One-dimensionality kills in college football. It just does. And I know I'm going everywhere. Just ask questions, guys, and I'll try and get to what I can in the chat. Lost Angels, thank you for the $2 super chat. Does this knock OSU out of the playoffs? No. Ohio State's still in the playoffs, guys. They're not dropping out of the playoffs. They beat Penn State. They beat Indiana. They lost to a 7-5 Michigan team by 3, and they lost to Oregon by 1. Now, a game like this obviously throws into question my comments about, the Big Ten definitely winning it all, because after today, I don't think Ohio State's going to win it all. I think it's going to be Oregon or probably Penn State who wins it all after today. And I would not be confident in picking Penn State to win it all because of what OSU did to them a few weeks back. But this doesn't knock OSU out from the playoffs. OSU still has a chance. They can still go out. They can still theoretically win it all. It's just, this is a gut punch. This is a huge gut punch to the program, to the players. All those seniors who came back are not going to get a pair of gold pants. And my heart aches for them. It does. And I say that as a Michigan fan. But for Michigan, I mean, they got to take advantage of this momentum. You can't just say, oh, well, we beat OSU so we can bring back Kirk Campbell and Wink Martindale. Like, no. Can't bring back Campbell. Wink Martindale, I'd say, is still questionable. You got to make moves in the portal. You got to get better assistant coaches. And for Ohio State, this should absolutely spark change. I don't know what change it'll bring. Like, will Ryan Day get fired? I don't know. I think as long as they win a playoff game, probably not. If I got to be honest with you, probably not. But Fry is gone for sure. Kelly might be encouraged to get an NFL job because that was bad. And his play calling, I mean, Chip, you know what Chip Kelly's doing? Chip Kelly's doing the Scott Frost. He's trying to run a spread option with no offensive line, or an offensive line that at least doesn't know how to run block. That's what encouraged Wan'Dale Robinson, star wide receiver, to transfer to Kentucky from Nebraska. You can't do that stuff. You just can't do it. Next super chat up. Chris, $5 super chat. Give Ryan Day a 10-year extension. Oh my gosh. I mean, completely inexcusable from him, but outside of these Michigan games, he's been one of the nation's best head coaches. It's something about this game, and this is where the Ryan Day haters have been correct. By the way, Bad A Buckeye. It's not a super chat, but I just want to say good game as well. I did not think Michigan had a chance to win. Good game. Seriously. You're one of the best programs in the entire country. I think you guys will get it right at some point. And I mean, this is going to be considered a down year for OSU, and they're 10-2. So Seriously, they're one of the best programs in the country. I have a ton of respect for OSU. I feel bad for you Buckeye fans that, I mean, you've truly not seen a win over Michigan in a while, and now it's mental. This is no longer about, who has the advantage, who has the better roster. What Michigan has right now is what OSU had under Urban and Tressel. It's a mental game. Ohio State's going to have to overcome the mental before they can overcome the physical, and I think that is what the staff didn't expect this weekend. They thought they just had to overcome the physical, and they did, and they failed to, and they were never going to overcome the physical in the way that they wanted to with their game plan. The most physical thing OSU could have done and should have done was pass to Jeremiah Smith, one of the most physical players in college football. Didn't do it. They just shrugged shoulders. Didn't do it. So good game, honestly, to your Buckeyes, to Ohio State. Wow. It's just absolutely crazy what's going on here. I mean, you look at the game here, and Warren, 9 of 16 for 62 yards, 3.9 yards per attempt, 2 picks. The 2 interceptions he threw were terrible. He threw it right to Jack Sawyer. He threw it right to Caleb Downs. He missed a lot of wide open guys. And I give Michigan's receivers credit. They were keeping Ohio State's DBs a little honest, like, the Burke PI, Peyton O'Leary making that good catch. Michigan's wide receivers thought, or fought. Michigan's wide receivers did. But Davis Warren didn't have a good game. I mean, he had a type of game that, like the Arkansas State game early in the year, got him benched. The real MVP of the game is Kalel Mullings. Kalel Mullings is a feature back. 32 carries, 116 yards, 3.6 yards per pop, and a touchdown. And Michigan only allowed 3 TFLs. You give me the rushing stat that Michigan had 172 yards, didn't allow a sack, they only allowed 3 TFLs, and then you told me Ohio State only had 77 rushing yards. I probably still would have picked OSU to win, but I wouldn't have picked them to cover. Then you tell me Will Howard didn't pass for 200 yards and he had more picks than TDs. Then I would have thought to myself, okay, does Michigan win this game or something? It's just it's bonkers, and I think the only thing we can talk about in a game like this right now is, I mean, what does Ohio State have to do to win it all? Like, how can they save their season? Because at this point, it's natty or bust. When the cheating scandal came out last year, I said on my channel, okay, someone needs to be suspended. There needs to be punishments. This was wrong. The only way that Michigan can save their season with Stallions news coming out is winning it all. That's it. Because, and rightfully so, if Michigan doesn't win out, everyone will say, oh, well, I guess they're not as dominant without their sign stealer. They needed to win out to save the season at that point. And thankfully they did. For OSU, it's not quite the same thing because this is not scandal-based. This is wins and losses. This is on-the-field based. To save the season, Ohio State needs to win it all because you win it all, and this will be annoying, but it'll be forgotten. It won't be forgotten by Michigan fans. It'll be annoying, but it's a natty, and a natty is that valuable. And this is a down year in football, as we've talked about here on College Football with Sam. You guys have a lot of issues, but if you abandon the run, only use it selectively, use a lot more push and pull, man blocking rather than zone blocking, if you play, I think, more of a conservative, like Ohio State's defense today was a lot more conservative than it was in the past because they knew Michigan was limited. It was so good. I mean, if that type of defense plays against Oregon and the offense is called well, you might win. You could win. Wouldn't pick it, wouldn't favor it, but I mean, my goodness. My goodness. I mean, what a disaster for Ohio State. SFS inverted, yeah, I do want to hear your statement. You don't even need to send a super chat to say your statement. Say your statement, man. I feel bad for you. SFS inverted is a loyal Buckeye fan. He helps out the channel with moderation, always active in our Discord server. By the way, visit the link in the video description. Just visit it right now and join our Discord server. It is the best thing that you can do. Just go down in the description of this live and join our Discord server. And you can vent in the Discord server, please, because we like conversation here on College Football with Sam. That's what college football is ultimately all about, is conversation. So please join that. We need more Michigan fans, more Buckeye fans, anything. So please join the Discord server, link down below. But this is just it's bonkers. What can I tell you? I've said that over and over and over again, but just unbelievable. Completely unbelievable. Let me do this. It's completely it's unreal. I mean, the fact that this Michigan team beat that Ohio State team is crazy. But again, it was just all Ohio State's issues flared up at the same time, and Ohio State couldn't do anything about it. Michigan was able to capitalize enough to win. Let me read some more of these comments here and continue to talk about this, because this is just it's bananas. Michigan won because they were better in the trenches, and surprisingly on both sides of the football. I mean, they ran for nearly 200 yards on what many termed the nation's like number one rushing defense. Well, I gotta be honest with you, Penn State probably has a better rushing defense. It's just Penn State, like I talked about, played with their food against OSU. They did. I mean, two empty red zone possessions. They were lining up in like very tight man on every play, which is just inviting Ohio State to use outside leverage. Unbelievable. I think what you have to do if you're OSU is move to a pass-heavy game, a pass-heavy spread out the defense, spread out defenses. The defense for OSU doesn't have to change a single thing. Defense can just stay the same. This is a defense that is as good as last year's, might even be better. And I said it on Twitter, on X, Jack Sawyer's the game MVP, like defensively, no matter who wins, because Jack Sawyer did something special. You know, defensive ends don't make interceptions. Defensive ends don't save plays in that way. The game's not on Jack Sawyer. It's not on Jim Knowles. It's not on Caleb Downs. It's not even on Denzel Burke. It's not on anyone defensively. The defense did their job. They did. This is on the offense. Offense only scored 10 points against a defense that let Texas smother them, that let Oregon casually smother them. Indiana looked better against this defense than Ohio State did. Michigan State did much better against it. I mean, this was Michigan's best performance of the year defensively, and Ohio State's worst easily. I mean, this was even worse than the Nebraska game for the Buckeyes. It was so bad. Oh wow, SFS inverted. Holy cow. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Let's get this up here. I did not expect that. Thank you very much. Wow. Crazy. And I mean, after this, what I can do is we can talk all about like the playoff scenario. I have to get back to watching these games, but this is just, it's so crazy that we have to talk about it here. Well, first off, congrats on the win. I'm completely numb. I don't even know what to feel about Day. Will Howard played his worst game, and the failure to abandon the run is criminal. Our players came in the game like we did in 2022. Yep. Yeah. That you know what? That's a good point. Ohio State came into the game, and you could tell in more so in the play calling, because Ohio State wasn't that penalized in this game, unlike 2022. Like, the players didn't have a meltdown. The coaches, however, had a meltdown. Like, so let me give you an example. So Michigan throws one of the dumbest interceptions I have seen in my entire life. Like the pick that Davis Warren threw to Caleb Downs, credit to Caleb Downs for catching it. That was a wonderful catch because the throw was that bad. But that throw was like as bad as the Jalen Milroe pick six against Oklahoma. Like it was that bad. It's like, what are you doing? Why do you have to cost Michigan a winnable game? Because Ohio State takes over. Quinshon Judkins run up the middle for no gain. Will Howard pass complete on one of the worst tight end screen designs ever. No gain. 3rd and 10, Travion Henderson run. Oh, and then Jaden Fielding gets out, steps back, shifts to the left, does every kicker motion. Kick looks like it's going to go in, and then zoink. No good. Got to hire a special teams coach, too. That's another thing Ryan Day has to do. You got to hire a dedicated special teams coach because special teams was an issue all season long. Got lucky against Indiana because Indiana completely folded on special teams. But that was exposed. That was absolutely exposed. Nice run by, I think it's Quentin Joyner for USC. I love USC's running backs. Love it. I mean, Ohio State has one of the worst rushing offenses in the Big Ten. That's been abundantly clear ever since Simmons went down. We don't have to pretend about it anymore. Ohio State was held to their leading rusher, Quinshon Judkins, 46 yards, 12 carries. They were held to 3 yards per carry, 77 rushing yards. Those 26 carries, outside of maybe 10 of them, were all wastes. You basically had anywhere from 16 to 21 wasted plays where you just, gave Michigan no gain or some confidence. It's unbelievable. It's coaching malpractice, and this is easily the worst loss of Ryan Day's career. And thank you for the congratulations, SFS. I didn't mean to ignore that. I'm getting off on a tangent because I'm objective enough to be frustrated for Ohio State fans. I mean, Michigan, these two teams match up again. Ohio State would win. Maybe not today, but in a hypothetical world, in the analytics, in the stats, there was no reason for OSU to lose, and they did. And that is a mark of a coaching failure. It's the same thing with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss losing to Kentucky. What are you doing? Like, honestly, what are you doing? Like, it's unbelievable. Wow. Oh, it just got to take a little bit of a breath there. Kells, thank you for the $10 super chat. We have the players, but the play calling was abysmal. Played right into Michigan's hands. Got to look forward to the game. Thanks, Ryan Day. Much appreciated. Great channel as always. Good game. Good game, Kells. Thank you for the $10 super chat again. I'm still in disbelief. It will take me time to process that Michigan won this game. It's unbelievable. It's unreasonable. The fact that Michigan was stopped in the red zone 2 times. Really 3 times. With 3 times. The fact they only scored 13 points and won a game. What are we doing? It's absolutely unreal. Unreal. I mean, Caleb Downs had a good game. Cody Simon, Lathan Ransom had a good game. Tyleek Williams had a good game. This isn't on the defense. Sawyer had a pick. Downs had a pick. I mean, play calling sucked. Call it what it is. Ohio State has the players. Wow. I'm watching another game here. Wow. Notre Dame might smoke USC based off of how this first quarter's going, but let's wait and see. It's crazy. Wow. I'm going to be shook for the rest of the day. It's like what Covatus said. Unbelievable, unreasonable, unacceptable. Bingo. Just like Ohio State owning Michigan under Tressel and Urban was unacceptable, this is unacceptable. Last year's loss you could pardon. You could. I think you could pardon the 21 loss too. 22 was unacceptable, but at least OSU won all their other games and nearly won it all. This team, as we saw today, unless major changes are made and they make some type of playoff run, this is Day's worst team ever. Unacceptable. well, I'm going to go spend some time with my girlfriend. I'm going to take some time off and really digest this loss. I don't know if we fire Day. Who do we replace him with? I feel bad for the seniors. Go Bucks. Go Buckeyes. I'll say it. I have no problem saying that. I've had no problem saying that for years, even though I'm a Michigan fan. Go Buckeyes. I feel bad for the seniors, too. Like, I mean, Jack Sawyer played his heart out, and they lost, as an example. Cody Simon's been with this program forever. Had his best season so far. And, look, Ohio State's season isn't over. It's not. But I don't know who you replace State with. I straight up don't know. And at this point, as I said on my deep dive last night, Ohio State's down year was either going to be this year or 2025. And it looks like it's going to be this year and maybe next year. I think, barring a disaster in the playoffs, and maybe this is the Michigan fan in me talking, I don't know. I don't think you can fire him. I mean, Saban's gone. Urban Meyer, do not bring up that name. Don't do it. Just don't. If he knew that he could coach in modern college football, he'd be coaching. He wouldn't be taking time off. It's the same thing with Saban. They're too obsessed about the game to the point where if they're taking time off of the game, like for an extended period of time, they're done. You don't want to hire James Franklin. You could hire Dan Lanning, but Oregon has unlimited money, so you're not hiring Dan Lanning. You want Kalen DeBoer? Kalen DeBoer is 8-3 at Alabama, could be 8-4. You want Clark Lee from Vanderbilt? Well, it's Vandy, and we don't know if his success is mainly because of Jerry Kill and Diego Pavia or not. You don't want Dabo Swinney. You don't want Shane Beamer. Do you want Lincoln Riley? I don't think so. I mean, from last year to this year represents the biggest coaching and quarterback downgrade from one year to the next in probably the entire 21st century of college football. Saban leaves the game. Harbaugh leaves the game. Like 2 of the top 5 head coaches last year. And Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, like multiple first-round quarterbacks leave for the NFL. And you got the portal. So more talent is shifting around than ever before. So this is a down year in football. It might be a down next few years. I mean, the only team that has taken advantage of this down year so far is probably like Penn State, who if they somehow win this game against Maryland, they're still down 7-3, they go 11-1. They're a winner. Or Oregon, because Oregon has a lot of resources. They got a good culture. And it looks like Dan Lanning is going to be a hot name in college football. Chimichanga guy says, this feels like Woody versus Bo. My chat is frozen, so I can't pull it up. But yeah, this did feel like a pre-21st century game. 13-10. Hard-fought game. I mean, Day said it early. He said, game's going to go by quickly, so we have to start out fast. They didn't start out fast, and I think it got to him. My goodness. If you Buckeyes had Penn State's pass rush, you're probably 12-0. I mean, that is how close you are. If you have Penn State's pass rush, 12-0. That's all I'm saying. It's the same thing like if you had Michigan's D-line, probably 12-0. You have Michigan's recruiting on the O-line, might be 12-0, 11-1. It's the little things, but Ohio State fans have been saying for years that enough is enough. Like, we should be getting little things right, and that's what bugs me here. Because in this game, the little things were so awful that you couldn't do the big things. You didn't score on a long touchdown. You didn't have an explosive play. Your longest play was of 24 yards, and it was to your running back on a dump-off out of the backfield. Michigan's longest play was 29. It was that long run by Alex Orji, which should have been stuffed. I don't know why Ohio State didn't stop that play. Why they looked so confused. But it is what it is. Yeah, the chat crashed because you all are so active in that sense. Oh my gosh. No. Am I still live, guys? I'm hoping I'm still live. I think I am. Okay, I'm still live. Everything crashed. Sorry, guys, for the confusion. Oh, wow. Yep. We're live. We're talking about this. You guys can vent. It's what you should be doing if you're a Buckeye fan. If you're a Michigan fan, just celebrate. The season's a failure, but it's not an F. You have some hope. You finished the year strong. Like you failed your two exams. You're gonna have to retake the class in college, but you got a little bit more of a grip on the class. You're not like a total and you're not like a complete embarrassment. You're not at the bottom of the chili pot anymore. That's something to be admired. I'm proud of Sharon Moore. I'm proud of Kalel Mullings. I'm proud of a lot of these guys because a lot of these guys are going to go off to the NFL. They're never going to lose to OSU. They left it all on the field. After a terrible season, they didn't quit. They didn't. And Michigan won this game without Colston Loveland and also without Will Johnson. They did it. Okay, $10 super chat. Got to get another pop-out chat here. Again, the chat crashed, guys. I'm so sorry about that. Holy cow. I've been all over the place, but tomorrow I'm going to go live and do a reaction of the week, and there will be like a short reaction video to this game that will be way more condensed, more planned out, etc. This is just me getting all my emotions out because I still can't believe this happened. Like, it's now beginning to settle in, but it just... unbelievable. I mean, Josh Pate said it at halftime. Everything's going to be fine. A lot of Buckeye accounts on Twitter said that. Justin Spiro said that. I was thinking OSU's fine. Nice QB sneak by Penn State. They should call that all the time on third and short. That's the other thing with OSU too. You had several fourth down opportunities. A team like Penn State's doing this in their final game where they're being aggressive and risky. You didn't take enough risks. You played scared, and that's unacceptable against a team that is as bad as this Michigan team is. Do not let any Michigan fan, if you're a Buckeye fan, tell you this Michigan team is good. This Michigan team is not good. It's not. I think the players would even admit that. The players individually have a lot of good qualities. Moore called one of his best games of the entire season. And there's things to like about this team, and they're not bad nationally, but they're bad by Michigan standards. They are. This team had the talent to go 10-2. With much better coaching, 11-1 was even in the cards. I don't think they were strong enough to go undefeated. That's lunacy, with how much they lost. But here we are. Let me get to the super chat though. Let me get to it. Okay. I don't think OSU respects Michigan enough to win. They expect to dominate. When they don't, they crumble. Michigan knows OSU is good. They know and respect their challenge. That's a good way of putting it. Actually, you know what? Let me screenshot this here. I'm going to pull up Snipping Tool and screenshot this because this right here is... No, I got it. I got to do it with the... Got to do this. Yep, got to do that to where I can capture me giving the thumbs up to give your thing an approval. There we go. I'm gonna put this on Twitter and YouTube. That's exactly what it is mentally. It's exactly what it is. Crazy. I mean, good game if you're an OSU fan coming in here. There will be a reaction video up tomorrow. Probably spend a good amount of time on this game, 15, 20 minutes. Wow. Unbelievable. Like chaos. You're going to watch Penn State or Indiana because both of them aren't losing. You're going to watch them play Oregon, and you're going to think to yourself, what if? Because Oregon ain't invincible either. Oregon's beatable, especially if Penn State plays them. You're going to be thinking to yourself, oh man, why? That's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking that as a Michigan fan right now. I'm thinking, why couldn't we get a QB out of the portal? Why couldn't we coach well in the O-line? Why did our secondary look as bad as it did with Will Johnson? Why? This was a massive opportunity that Ohio State missed, absolutely. But don't forget that Michigan missed an opportunity here. Last year's Michigan team goes 12-0 with their schedule and probably blows this OSU team out of the water. 22 Michigan, same thing. 2018, like Michigan, I don't know how that would go with this OSU team. That this OSU team clearly, when it comes to the game, does not have the same confidence that the Urban Meyer teams did. It's abundantly clear. Do not hire Mike Vrabel. Don't do it. Unless you have a $1 billion behind him, genius coordinators, don't hire Mike Vrabel. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I think Ohio State is one of those programs that's too big to fail consistently. They may have a down year here and there. That might be a touch. No, that's not a touchdown for MSU. I want MSU to win. I want my rivals to be good. I want Michigan State to be good. I never want Ohio State to be bad. I don't want Penn State to be bad. I like it when the Big Ten is good, when it's fun, when it's competitive, and all these other things. Crazy. Let's see, what did Josh Pate say? Oh. Wow. I was just reading a comment where apparently Ryan, the reason the fight happened at the end of the game is because Ryan Day and the team didn't want Michigan to plant a flag in the middle of the field. That's pathetic. That right there, showing more fight to defend a logo than defend your own team's dignity, than defending the effort of your seniors, that's pathetic. That's probably the only time that I have listened to something that Ryan Day said and thought to myself, wow, low blow, or you're missing the picture here, bud. That's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, who freaking cares? Just make one of your field goals. Don't throw a pick inside of your own 10. Do the little things, and Michigan they don't even get to plant the flag in the middle of the field. Gosh, it's insufferable. We've been live for 40 minutes. I'm going to go at the very most to an hour, and then we'll be done. I'm very thirsty, so I'm going to insert some ads here, and we'll be right back. And we're back. Was really thirsty. Because basically for that final half of the game, I didn't eat, didn't drink, didn't even get up from my chair. I just watched it. Whew. Wow. Yeah, I just need to breathe. Let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, Michigan should have been at least 9-2 entering this game, at the absolute very worst 8-3. Yeah, I mean they shouldn't have lost to Illinois. They shouldn't have lost to Washington. They probably weren't beating Oregon or Texas ever, because the mentality of those matchups are just not the same as the Ohio State game. I mean, that's that. And then they also lost to what? Bless me there. So Texas, Oregon, Washington. I mean, should have beaten Indiana too, if we're being honest, based off of how that game went and how Michigan was in it. They should have beaten Indiana. Yeah, it's just, and you play all of that out, and I know it's shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's not what happened. But real opportunity to go 10-2, 8-1 in conference play. That would have been a success. It would have. And the chat crashed again. I may need to get more RAM or memory, because this is insane. Cryo Soul, been a while, but wanted to congratulate you on the win. Go Blue. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Cryo Soul, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that a lot. Bad A Buckeye, we lost because QB Howard is not elite. 2 missed field goals and tips play calling. It's not on Day. Most importantly, Michigan is a good D-line, good running back with Mullings. I mean, I think it's on Day because Day, has the power to take away the play calling. He's a good play caller himself. And Day made the hires, and Day made the decision to not get transfer offensive linemen and retain Justin Fry. And what do you know? The O-line today has an absolute... This is Ohio State's worst offensive line under Day. Make no mistake about it. And I know a lot of it's because of the injuries, but injuries are common, especially on the offensive line. Michigan's 2022 O-line, 2021 O-line that won the Joe Moore Award had injuries that happened. Not season-ending, but they still, in some games, had to substitute in, and the O-lines didn't drop off. Michigan lost Zach Zinner, All-American guard, last year against OSU, and their O-line played the best it ever had against Alabama and against Washington in the playoffs. So, look, I'm not here to tell you Day should be fired. I'm not here to tell you that Day is the biggest fraud in the world, but I'm here to tell you that the arguments that people who believe in that have are a lot more valid now. They looked insane before today, but now, oh boy, there's some substance to those now. And yeah, I did see that South Carolina beat Clemson 17-14. Crazy. So that should not punch South Carolina's ticket into the playoffs, but at least bring them close. And, yep. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to be out of here in 10 minutes probably, but I guess what we'll close off on is what Ohio State's going to face off against in the college football playoff. And who do they match up with the best? Because Michigan's season at this point's over. You finished off on a high note. Even if you lose in the bowl game, season ends on a somewhat high note. You're beginning to prepare for 2025 with a hope to bounce back in a big way. So who does OSU play in the playoff? What teams are likely going to make it? Penn State, by the way, retook the lead. Oh my gosh, Mike Loxley, you're a moron. Maryland just tried a 4th and 1 at their own 31, and Penn State stuffed it because Maryland ran shotgun instead of QB sneaking. Jeez, it's bad. So who does OSU play in the playoffs? Well, could play Notre Dame, depending on what happens. Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Tennessee, Penn State, Miami, depending on what happens, Indiana, SMU, Clemson's out of the playoff picture because of their loss. And, maybe a Big 12 team or Boise State. But I'm not going to talk about those teams because while Michigan is a similar caliber of a lot of the lower end playoff teams, if not worse, they have athletes in important positions that are more similar to the top end teams in all of college football. And it is a rivalry game. If this was just another game like against Rutgers, Ohio State wins. If the logo is changed, like the logo, the rivalry, the game does have a part in this. I look at Ohio State right now. I don't know if I'd pick you to beat Notre Dame with how they can run the ball, with what their defense has. And I said entering this matchup with Michigan that you were the exception to the rule with one-dimensionality. That you did not have to run the football successfully to be elite on offense. That you were an exception to the rule. Well, that was pretty dumb of me. And I don't know why I said that, because in hindsight, think about it this way. If a defense is perfect at stopping the run, but they struggle at stopping the pass, you get what Texas had last year. And your defense folds when it matters the most. It has to be the same thing on offense, right? You have a really good passing offense, but if you can't run the football, your offense will have issues. So that was one of my worst analyses of the year, was saying that. And I regret saying that. But looking at what Ohio State can do, what they can't do, I think that you can beat almost anyone in the playoffs, but you can also lose to anyone. Absolutely. I mean, Tennessee, Miami, Notre Dame, Penn State, Oregon, those teams that I just named are all better in the trenches than you are. Texas is too, but they still struggle to run the football because of their running backs. And then Georgia, if healthy, potentially could be. Indiana, with how that game went, I'm not going to say they are, but who knows? Maybe in a rematch, Indiana's special teams are better and they play a very close and competitive game. So this is a down year in football, which plays to the advantage of OSU after today. But you have to win it all. Otherwise, the season's a joke. It's a failure. And even if you do win it all, I would expect changes to be made, because you'd be winning it all in spite of major issues that you have. I mean, this O-line is... The fact it was a Joe Moore Award semifinalist shows how bogus the awards are. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. They were a Joe Moore Award O-line when healthy, but after that first injury to Simmons, it was not good at run blocking. And now it is trash at run blocking and all right at pass blocking. And Will Howard really helps the pass blocking, because if you had Kyle McCord at quarterback, you'd have given up 2 or 3 sacks today. He's able to weevil out of pressure and pick up yards or throw it away. And Penn State is now game controlling Maryland and killing them. So again, you're going to watch, whether you're watching the Penn State-Maryland game right now or you'll be watching Penn State play in Indy if they hold on, you'll be watching the Big Ten Championship game and thinking to yourself, we could have been here. And I don't know if Penn State will beat Oregon. I would not be inclined to say yes, but I could be wrong on that front. But I will tell you, Penn State would never have the type of game that Ohio State had today, because they recruit better and develop better on the O-line, because they're better in the trenches. And as bad of a game manager that James Franklin is, Franklin has made better coordinator and position hires than Day has. And you're seeing it this year. Now, they also played an easier schedule, but that's to no fault of their own. They won all of their little games if they hang on to beat Maryland here. Ohio State did not. They lost a big game. That's okay. It happens. But then they lost the little thing too. And this little game against Michigan, it's not a little game. It's a big game. It's the game. The best rivalry in sports history. And Michigan's now 4-0 in this series. So my chat is frozen, so I have no clue what's going on here. Let me reload it. But I'm going to get off soon. I need to go back to watching football. It was a bad game by OSU. It was one of Michigan's better games of the season, but Michigan is indeed very limited. I feel like the chat just isn't... Maybe I have to do that. See what's going on here. Yeah, I'm confused now. It's like no one's type. Oh, someone just did. So maybe people are just listening instead of typing. As a Michigan fan, Will Howard is good. He just got concussed to next Tuesday. Maybe. Yeah, because the way he played, he was just a little bit worse than he usually is, and that was just enough to throw off the entire passing game. But Kelly did not put him in good position. They didn't. I mean, think about Ohio State's final drive. You have 4 plays. All of them are super conservative, just trying to pick up the first down. Like, at this point, you can't just be thinking about picking up a first down because of how your kicker is. You got to be thinking about winning with a touchdown. Go deep. Heave it up. I mean, they targeted Jeremiah Smith 2 times, and Michigan couldn't cover him. They just pulled him down. So, just, it's I still can't believe that Michigan won. They shouldn't have won. They did, and they deserve it. And by shouldn't have won, all I mean is that this was a miracle. This was a miracle for Michigan to win. And this is still Michigan's worst team since the COVID year. You exclude the COVID year, this is Michigan's worst team since 2014. So, yeah. And I was hypothetically talking about facing Indiana in the playoffs because, maybe they match up, like, at some point if both of them win out. Like, that, I'm not just thinking about them matching up in the first round. I'm thinking about if Ohio State, who they match up with in the first round, or if they go on a run, who they'll have to face off against, because they have to win it all now. Season's a failure unless they win it all, which means they're going to have to be prepared to beat anyone and everyone. Oregon, I would pick Oregon right now. Oregon would manhandle OSU at the lines of scrimmage. Georgia and Ohio State would probably be a battle of passing attacks with no team being able to run the ball. Both teams having a pretty good passing game. Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame OSU would be very close, but I think that Notre Dame's more physical than Ohio State is, and I think they're better at game control, at running the football. That matters a lot against an Ohio State D line that is near elite, but not elite. Didn't get a sack today. Struggled against the run at times. It's been the same thing all this year. It was the same thing last year. That's on Larry Johnson. More so development than recruiting because they've still recruited pretty well there. Miami right now, Miami's weakness is in defending the pass, but they can run. They have good defensive linemen. That would be a very interesting game, I tell you what. And then Penn State. I mean, based off of what I saw today, Penn State versus OSU neutral field, I would pick Penn State because Ohio State can't run to save their life. So then the game is that simpler for Tom Allen. And Penn State's offense is just the same as it has been all year, except now they can start a little bit quicker. And then as for any of the other teams, well, those are the main teams. I mean, I think that you'd beat Indiana. I think you'd beat SMU. Tennessee, it depends on which Tennessee shows up. Defense is awesome. Run game can be awesome. QB can make some wonderful plays. But that just is what it is. So, I don't know what to tell you. We're going to go live again tomorrow afternoon to talk about this slate of games, which is just absolutely insane. I will see you guys very soon. Thank you for joining the live. I really appreciate it. For the $71 in Super Chat, the 90 likes. We got over 5,000 views on this live. Thank you very much for helping us to provide the best analysis of Big Ten football on YouTube. One day we'll become the best college football channel on YouTube. And make sure to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell if you have not already. Make sure to do those things, please, because we're going to be live tomorrow at noon. Probably do an hour and a half, maybe 2-hour show, reacting to many of these games, and you will not want to miss that. So I will see you guys very, very soon. Have a great day. I will be active on Twitter, and if you have not already, please join the Discord server via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment. See you guys very soon. Go Blue and go Buckeyes. And may the game always be the best rivalry in sports history.